Timothy Burke, a video editor in Tampa, Florida, collected 44 versions of that editorial from 44 local news markets and lay them side by side, allowing Americans to play them back word for word.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
The effect was chilling.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Orwellian.
It was actually fairly horrifying. About a minute and a half op.
Murder rates across the U.S. are rising. A recent report shows major cities saw a 33% jump in homicides in 2020. According to the Major Cities Chiefs Association, the vast majority of the 66 largest police jurisdictions saw a spike in violent crime last year, and that trend is expected to continue.
Population keeps on bleeding, nation bleeding, still more bleeding economy. Life is funny, skies are sunny, bees make honey, who needs money? Monopoly.
It's like I'm just looking for solutions. And, earlier you're talking about the mass shootings. And Joe Rogan, took some heat because he said that it was a mental health issue. And I absolutely agree with him.
If you murder somebody, you have mental health issues.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're
a murderer, if you're not defending yourself against a psychopath,
yeah, that's right.
You may be the psychopath.
Yeah. If you pack on a backpack with lots of extra ammo and you bring in an AK-47 and you go walk into a school, then you've probably got some emotional issues. But the thing is that there's a way to solve this, and that's what the global transformation project that we're involved in, that I was mentioned earlier, is about. And what we're pushing for is a United Nations resolution. It would be non-binding. No country, no school, and no student would have to participate in it. But what we want to do is we want to expose the world and public educators worldwide through a UN resolution to the science on mind-body practices for public education. And anybody who's listening, if you hang on and listen to this program, I've got some science that is just going to alter the way that you view reality in some profound ways. But one of the things that happens when people practice, what are mind-body practices? Well, the big five that have the massive science behind them are meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, and mindfulness. And what they all do is they bring the brain waves into the alpha theta state. That's the meditative state. And the effects this has on the health of the body and the DNA expression and just all kinds of aspects of our being and consciousness are really profound. But one of the things that they found is that when people practice regular meditation, it actually shrinks the stress and fear part of their brain, and it increases the size of the empathy and compassion parts of their brain. And so what you see in schools that employ mind-body practices, because some schools have already done it, is you see a dramatic reduction in bullying rates. And what got me thinking down these lines was I did a presentation at Folsom Prison many years ago, and they brought me in to teach meditation and Tai Chi to the inmates, and I didn't realize it at the time, but they had a program there for 2 years, a meditation program, a Tai Chi Chubb program, and they not only have they brought down the violent incident rates for the participants in the group, but there was a reduction in violent incident rates for the whole prison. And the whole prison wasn't participating in this mind-body practice. And then other prisons, like Apodaca Prison in Mexico, they had a horrifically historic violent incident at their prison, and then they just taught the whole prison how to meditate, and they haven't had a major violent incident from it since then. And so if we were teaching these mind-body practices in public education in age-appropriate ways from kindergarten all the way up through 12th grade, what we're suggesting is 1 hour a day, so it'd be kind of like a mind-body health science PE course, because Tai Chi and yoga give you all the benefits of exercise, but you'd be getting the mind-body benefits as well, so you'd be increasing your empathy and compassion part of your brain. And so just a little change in the brain waves, and these effects last, so it doesn't just make you less violent or kinder when you're doing the meditation, but it actually starts to change your brain, like I said. And so these students would have changed brains. They would have more socially functional brains and more compassionate and empathetic brains, more normal brains, really, because when you get into the science, compassion is a normal state for human beings. You see that in the science. And so, we could be imparting these ancient, time-tested, and science-proven technologies, mental technologies, to students all over the planet, and it wouldn't cost very much. And just a little change in these students' brains would make the difference between them deciding when they get up in the morning if they're going to go out and, have some fun with their friends, or whether they're going to pack a backpack full of extra ammo and go blow up a school. It only takes a tiny little change in consciousness to make that change. So we could dramatically reduce these kind of things.
So the solution is within you.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the problems of our world, the society we live in. The solutions are spiritual.
Well, they're scientific. It's consciousness science, because the verbiage is really important, because we're going to get this into public schools, and so we have to make sure that we use the proper description, because the way that I approach it is from just a science-based. Now, I've studied mind-body
You don't want to
practice.
muddy it with it having like a religious overtone, is that
Yes,
what
that's correct, and it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to, because there's mind-body practices that are taught that aren't taught in a religious way, and they have that effect. They have that effect
Sure.
on people. Yeah. So, but yeah, to be honest with you, if we were teaching public school kids all over the planet how to do mind-body practices, the science would show, all kinds of myriad benefits that would save society trillions of dollars year after year. But, if you wanted to use other verbiage, really what it would be, it would be a mass global spiritual awakening. Because some of the science, I mentioned that when I was at Folsom Prison.
Won't that be bad for business, though?
Yeah,
that might.
The businesses.
Yeah.
It'd be really good for Tai Chi and Qigong and yoga and meditation teachers.
Sure, herbal teas would go up. Yeah, but as far as
people would probably start eating more organic food.
Yeah, javelin missiles though. That might not sell as well.
That's true. They might not, and also Madison Avenue, they might not do quite as well. Because people would be attracted to things that are.
Yeah, people didn't need to consume to fill the void, the hole inside of their soul. Yeah, that might be bad for business too. Well, if people realize that they're actually complete. Yeah. And that they've been lied to, and that everything they need is within inside of them, and they just need to acknowledge that and embrace that.
Yeah, that's actually one thing that I wanted to mention earlier when you were talking about kind of the state that we're in. I have a sense of kind of a larger picture, maybe because I'm like 65 years old or whatever, but it's like, I've seen so many waves of how things go socially and globally and everything. And, I really think all the things that we're going through are part of a mass global awakening. I think people have to get to the point where they realize that they can't put all their faith in Sean Hannity or Rachel Maddow or Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden or, you can just go on down the list. What people are starting to realize is the only thing that really matters is truth and compassion, because that's how we're wired. It's from our DNA. There's research that shows our DNA is just naturally wired for compassion. And so I think that people are kind of, what's happening with all, the shrillness of media and propaganda and all these things is that people are being awoken, masses of people, all over the planet. And they're just starting to realize that the only thing that really matters is, them and their neighbors and how well people that they know are doing. And, it's like all the, it's like, like I said, I've been an activist for 40 years, and, looking back now, I realized I was manipulated. I was manipulated by media to be, to just think the worst about people. Mm-hmm. Like I have a son-in-law who's a Republican, and, and I had a lot of prejudices against him, at first. It's like I tried to override it, but it's like they were there. And, just over the last couple of years, the way I've seen the way that the media manipulates and, makes us divided from one another, it's like I got to know him on a better level because I realized that he's not the boogeyman, that I had been sold, for so many years and I bought into. And so I think, that's, people are starting to wake up to the fact that their neighbors aren't dangerous. If you watch Fox, or if you watch Fox, you're starting to awaken to the fact that your neighbors aren't communists, and if you watch MSNBC, you start to wake up to the fact that your neighbors aren't Nazis.
Maybe, but some people really feed into that paranoia. Some people think that the reason why, the people that went to the Capitol on January 6th, or people that voted for, Joe Biden are the worst people in the world, and how can we live with these people? The prejudices that have been plugged in for people so they can focus in on those and find something to be upset with. It's pretty amazing, and that's like the opposite of that consciousness that you're talking about. It's the manipulation of that same global awareness, right? But it's through social media. It's through it's through a middleman. It's through some sort of artificial construct that is clearly manipulated. Because even though we're compassionate people, and that's probably what we default to, we also are incredibly tribalistic, and we love to blame people. We love to find our Judas goat.
Well, that's how propaganda works. It plays on our natural, weaknesses. And tries to
natural biases against people that we don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That's correct. But it's just, I think people are just, they're just seeing that the media is not really telling the true story, and it doesn't matter whether it's left or right or whatever. I'm talking about corporate.
Oh, sure. The corporate media, what used to be called the mainstream media, but can't be called the mainstream media anymore because it doesn't have the same pull that people, not this program, but people that have developed shows on the internet. From Joe Rogan to Jimmy Dore, these others that have a much larger audience than CNN. They said that when CNN lost the contracts to be in a bunch of airports throughout America, their viewership went down by half because most of CNN's viewership at this point was people waiting for an airplane.
Yeah, that was when I watched CNN.
Right,
when I was waiting for an airplane.
So those old narrative generators, corporate press, are dying. People aren't listening to them anymore. They're not focused on them anymore.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's an awakening going on. And, like Gil Scott-Heron said, the revolution is not going to be televised.
Population keeps on breeding, nation